Hello and welcome to another episode of Zam Times. Thank you, Sivaram, for making the time.
Pleasure
I know
mine.
we've been planning to do this for quite some time, but we've both been involved in activities, and we've not been able to have a conversation. So I'm glad that we are able to do this and share it with our audience as well as a part of Zam Times. So yeah, I've also been caught up with the activities while onboarding brands, activating few campaigns, some launches for some events that we've been planning for the startups.
That's nice to hear, Manpreet. And I also got to know that you've been quite heavily using GenAI in brands. So, want to tell our audiences, and I'd like to hear what you've been doing on with GenAI tools and techniques that you apply on the brands across brand marketing and sales.
Sure. I'm glad you brought that topic up, because when I was planning the episode, this was my thing, like what are we going to be, speaking about? Because I know that we don't like to do scripted interviews or preaching sessions, which is not the intention of Zam Times at all. So, interesting thing about GenAI has been is that for the past 1 year, first our phase was that we learned, like when the AI came and when it became a practice in the industry, not just a fad or another trend. Right. When we practically saw it happening, it was important for us to adopt it. We spent initially with the team, I spent some time trying out tools first, because that was very important for us. We did in content generation, we did for video generation. We also tried tools like Midjourney for image generations and character generations specific to the brands. Instead of using models, for example, for a procurement chain, for procurement chain, supply chain application for Bangalore startup, we created characters which were used instead of using models, even at their exhibitions. And then later on that same thing, we took them to the website, we took them into social media, and that they've become the literal brand ambassadors, those 4 or 5 characters that we created. That was a very good use case, which was validated by the industry and by the founders and by the engagement that we got through the audiences.
Quite interesting.
Right. So that was something. And now recently we've been, even for B2C in the performance marketing, it's been very plus. So after a while, when we went back into the meta ads now, it's targeting is automatic, which is AI enabled, where Meta is listening to the audiences. They have NLP, the natural language processing happening, with which they are able to target the audience much better than even an experienced marketer like myself or the performance marketing team. Those people, what they could do with their manual targeting, we have seen practically in our results and in the reports. We are seeing that the targeting is much better with AI.
Very nice. How do you see your team embracing these GenAI technologies? And I keep reading, and I also keep hearing that people on the team, especially creative people, find a little bit intimidated by highly usage of these GenAI tools. How do you find it with you and with your team?
I think we have had both sides to the debate. Initially, when it was about how much are we going to use, what are we going to adopt, we had discussions on both sides. Like, some writers are not happy using GenAI. They still like to write their own blogs. But then what we have seen, like, I have practically, I would not even talk on behalf of the team. Practically, I have, from my learning with GenAI, what I have seen and what's worked is that we are able to cut down the time. We are able to have a structure, right? Which is 2 important things when we are doing B2B content, specifically for B2B content, because there's nothing new that you're going to be able to talk creatively about an existing technology. For example, you're working for a brand that does Azure cloud services or a Google cloud services. Apart from those 6 or 8 USPs or the values that these platforms provide to a consumer, there's nothing new that you're going to talk. All you need is good structured information where the AI understands, okay, who's your target audience? It's meant for CXOs, it's meant for decision makers, and there's a certain language. You don't go beyond. There is a confined, I wouldn't say creative limitations, but these are business limitations which are already in place. At that place, I saw that we were able to brilliantly apply the AI generated content with a bit of human moderation, which is needed, of course, for SEO and Google, which AI is also able to beautifully do. But to have our touch, to have our creative touch, we with very minimal, I would say about 5% to 10% modulations, we were able to not just publish the content, but that content has done well on SEO rankings.
Very nice.
Those blogs are doing amazing. Those FAQs that we generated through FAQ generators, AI-based FAQ generators, are doing amazingly well. So, which tells us that the AI is able to do structured jobs much better than humans. Targeting-based performance things much better than humans because of the scale that it is able to reach.
Very nice.
One human or a brain wouldn't reach.
Very good. I wish you and your team do great work for brands, leveraging both your team's creativity as well as GenAI tools.
Yeah, that's wishes. That's always the goal with the team and at Zamstars as a whole. So it's been some time that we had a sit down or a deep discussion. So what's been cooking at your end? What have you been up to in the past few months?
I think majority is reflection. I think, as you know, that we celebrated our 12th anniversary few months back, and I think thanks to you and was like Vinod has given me a lot of time to reflect on, to see what we are doing, how to do our things better than what we are doing now.
Right.
See, the entire business that we are in, Manpreet, which is helping brands leverage branding as a service, marketing outreach as a service, and sales as a service has been what our foundation has been for years now.
Right.
And as I keep telling, the key ingredient for this is common sense, right?
Right.
And we leverage heavily on, over the years, human creativity, both in terms of the content, the design, structure, and we leverage multiple tools to do behavioral as well as data analysis so that we can apply that back into human. It has been our pedigree over years. Now with emerging tech coming in and how you and people like Vinod have adopted this emerging tech to apply for brands, what's made me to really go back to drawing board is to see, is there a better way for us to construct our approach, construct our methodology to serve brands better, to take the brand higher.
Right.
So what we used to have a two-prong, now actually we are to remodel ourselves three-prong approach, which is, I would say, starting with emerging tech as an epitome, because we need to use that in every possible way, as you rightly said, for the scale, for the depth that we have to take the brand into, and not to discount the human creativity.
Right.
As the second spear. And the third one is constantly looking at the both behavior of our consumers and what the data that generates and how do you use that, right? So these three pillars of emerging tech, human creativity, data and behavioral analysis is what we are looking to see how we can construct the value, which will become our foundation, our bedrock.
Right.
For you and me and our team to take those offerings, take those value propositions back to the client.
Correct.
What I've known, Manpreet, is that the way we have seen, and thanks to the way you guys have used these different spheres, has been that I think foundationally we need to have a definition phase, right? Definition of what the brand needs, definition of the structure of the way in which we want the brand to connect with the audiences. So I think a very strong play of our emerging tech and the human creativity intersection happens is on how we can create those experiences, okay? While our data behavioral aspects and the emerging tech can help us to define the structures very strongly, extending that, leveraging our human creativity will probably help us to weave the fabric of experience to our brand much stronger, much deeper, and much more intuitive.
Right.
And then looping back with insights back to the data and behavior will help us to leverage the emerging tech much better, to adopt the emerging tech much better, to choose the right tools in emerging tech much better. I think this is the three-spear circle that we are looking to sort of take it back. We have constructed a 12 grade value grid, what we call. At one side is these 3 parameters. Another side is the customer journey from an acquisition to advocacy.
Right.
So that's kept me quite engaged and organized.
Thank you. This value grid is something that I heard you speak at one of our conversations before. So I was curious about it. So I think now with these details coming out, I'm sure our audience would also be curious. We'll be soon going public with this information and our new approach, as Sivaram said, which is rightly, I think, is been our pillars have been, and now since another support pillar has come in, which the team is finding practically useful. And speaking of human capitals, I think there's a message that we would like to give out. Like if you would like to, reach out to us, work with us, learn, grow, intern with us, that opportunity is also open. So through Zam Times, giving that message out to you.
Yeah, the key point, Manpreet, here is that the way I see we adopting to emerging tech much stronger and much deeper is the entire function of marketing, which forms the epicenter of what we do, the outreach, the epicenter of what we do, is very experimentative. All right, you need to have the courage to go and experiment. You need to have the tenacity to go and construct something in front of the brand custodian with options to say that we want to experiment this for their brand, right? To do that, you need a very, very strong, steep learning curve that you want to do at each of these experimentation.
Right.
The mantra is that fail fast, right? Experimentations are designed to, certain experiments are designed to fail. So the key is to fail fast. I think that's where emerging tech plays a huge role in helping brands to fail fast if they are got stuck into a place where they're trying to experiment. Because without experimentation, marketing can't function. Without experimentation, outreach can't deliver the results that the brands need. Right? I think that's been my foray to see how we can wave that into a framework that both internal to our associates can adopt, and we can educate and take those back to our brands so that they give us a space which is more free. Our team can feel more freedom to interact with the brand, to apply these learnings to the brand and take the brand forward.
Thank you. Yeah, that gives a lot more confidence personally to me and the team as well as we go ahead and implement you. And thank you for your time once again.
Pleasure.
And before we wrap up, would you like to give maybe a teaser to our audience as to what kind of brands and what kind of work can we see in the next 6 months, next 1 year, or what from Zamstars?
I think every brand is a brand that I would like to work with. I think we are doing this episode just after my personal, ideal that I worship to live my life. I would probably close with a statement, and that's how I'm actually looking at what kind of brands we're going to get. Is that neither at work nor with brands, we are never looking at which is the right one to work with, right? I think whichever comes to us, our job is to make that brand work right. I think this has been the cornerstone for us to always look to do better and to improve ourselves and make the right choices to the brands who have trusted us and engaged us.
Thank you. That's a brilliant, I think, a brilliant attribute to Ratan Tata ji, making every decision right. Thank you once again, Sivaram, and thank you all for watching. So
thank you.
We'll be back with another episode of Zam Time, this time with less of a gap. Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you.
Bye.